Hello guys, welcome to this new video about CSS Grid on my channel here. I think this is the fourth video in this tutorial series, which I hope you're enjoying. In the last videos, we covered how to actually design a website layout using CSS Grid properties, such as grid column, grid row, and in the very last video, actually, we learned even how to use grid line names to specify your layout. Now, while these were very useful, today we have something very interesting that we're gonna add to our arsenal as web designers. You need to have a lot of tools and be able to achieve a particular goal using different techniques. Which technique you use in the end is entirely up to you, but then today we're going to learn something new, and it's about grid areas. So we're going to learn about two properties. The first one is the property that you apply on grid items, and that one is grid area. So it's like this, grid area. All right. The second one is grid templates areas. That one you need to apply it on the grid container itself. So grid templates areas, like that. Okay, so the grid areas, what the purpose they serve basically is to assign names to your various elements in your HTML structure. So here, for instance, we're beginning today with a structure. We have a main container with a class container. Then we have header, a menu section with the nav elements, main, aside, footer, and you can see them appearing here. We've already defined our grid. We have display grid here. Then I've added today a new property that you might not have seen in my previous videos, but I might elaborate on that in future videos. But basically, this serves to add some spaces around our various elements here. Then we have the font family bold, simply for the aesthetic part, and we have a maximum width of 500 pixels because I don't want this to stretch across the full space here in the preview pane. And we have grid template columns, where I have one FR 3 times. Basically, what I'm saying is I want 3 columns of equal size, so it should take whatever size is available between these 500 pixel limits and divide it by 3 and assign equal sizes to each columns. Then here we have grid template rows. I have 4 values here, and I'm expecting to have 4 rows by the end of this video, or when I'm done with the design. So the first one that you see here is 70 pixels, and the second one here looks less. It's not as tall as the first one because it's actually 40 pixels here. As we stretch these header elements and our menu, which is navigation, we're going to push some elements to new rows. So the third one that is going to pop up is going to be 270 pixels, and the last one, which is going to be the footer eventually, is going to be 50 pixels. So we have this item class here as well, which I've attached to all the grid items, and I'm just using this to add these orange backgrounds, the padding inside every grid item, and to align the text to the center. So now we've not yet defined our grid areas, so we first need to determine what names we want to give to each element. Now, there's no special rule for assigning names as far as relevancy is concerned, but I just think it's a better practice, probably the best practice, to assign names that correspond to the purpose of whatever elements we're attaching them to. So for instance, here we have the header class, which is the header is actually going to serve as the header section of our web page layouts. so it makes sense that we call it header. Same for here, we have the nav element, but we might want to call it menu or navigation. It depends. We can call this main. For aside, we can probably call it sidebar, and for footer, I think we can keep the name footer. So let's do that quickly. I'm going to target the elements directly. Here we have header, and it's going to be grid area header. There is no quotation marks or anything that you need to add. All right, you can just type it directly. And then nav. Careful not to imagine your name first and type the name. Like I can't type this menu. I don't have menu anywhere, so I have nav. Then all I need to do simply is to go here and type grid item. I'm going to give it the name menu. For my main, I'm going to call it main as well. Aside, I'm going to call it sidebar. And the footer, I'm going to keep the name footer. Oops, footer like that. Grid area footer. Okay, so things are disappearing right now as I'm typing this because there's no connection between these grid areas and our actual grid. It doesn't recognize them at this very stage. So we need to make use of this very important property here, and it also starts with grid template, just like this one here. Okay, grid template columns or grid template rows. So this is for the actual templates of our grid. So grid template areas. Now we can jump to the next line, and then we're going to add double quotation marks like this and type the names of the areas that we want to manipulate. So every double quotation marks correspond to one row. So here we're gonna have 4 rows, right? 70, 40, 270 and 50. So we can actually start like this, 4 rows. Notice I'm not adding any column between them. All right, once you see these quote symbols, one pair corresponds to one row. So at the end you just close it. And now in the first row, what do we want? We actually have 3 columns, meaning we're going to have 3 cells in the first row. But what do we want these 3 cells to represent? In this case, we want all 3 cells to represent the header, because the header is going to stretch or occupy the full row, the row number 1. So we can simply type here header, header, and header, which means cell 1 should be for header, cell 2 and cell 3 as well. Now here we want the nav, which is menu. I believe we call this menu, which means second row and the 3 cells in the second row. Yeah, we're correct, we call it menu. Now the main here, I want the main to occupy 2/3 of the third row. So the first 2 cells are going to correspond to the main area, and the last one is going to be the sidebar. And eventually I want the footer to take up the last space, the last row. Okay, and suddenly it all comes together very nicely, where we have the header, menu, the main content, sidebar, and footer content. So simply looking at this here in the CSS box, we can already estimate or preview in our minds the layouts of the web page. We know that the first row is going to be header only, the second row is going to be menu only, the third one is going to be 2/3. It's going to correspond to the main section, 1/3 is going to be for the sidebar, and the last row is going to be the footer only. And that's exactly what we get when we preview our code here. Okay, so now let's say you wanted to switch the sidebar to this the left side here. You could simply remove this here and say sidebar. That's it. It's that easy. All right, if you wanted, for instance, to put the menu for whatever reason below your sidebar, your main content, you could just do this, but then remember to adjust the values here. Okay, probably you will want to switch like this. Yeah, okay, so that it achieves the same purpose, but you get the point. You can play around with it. It's very easy, and it gives you a lot of flexibility, very fast as well. Okay, then you can use these names as you progress with your website layouts and do even more interesting stuff with them. In the next videos, I will try and have richer content, and we can look at how to create even more complex layouts with different techniques. If you like this video, I hope you subscribe to this channel. Please give it a thumbs up and share it, and do leave your comments for suggestions as to how I can improve my tutorials, or what you want to learn next, or whatever questions you have. Please just drop them in the comment section, and I will do my very best to reply to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.